Hello, bruvs. We're back with Black Folktales by Julius Lester. We're on the second to last story, this time for real. People who could fly. It happened long, long ago when black people were taken from their homes in Africa and forced to come here to work as slaves. They were put on the ships, and many died during the long voyage across the Atlantic Ocean. Those that survived stepped off the boats into a land they had never seen, a land they never knew existed, and they were put into the fields to work. Many refused, and they were killed. Others would work, but when the white man's whip lashed their backs to make them work harder, they would turn and fight. And some of them killed the white men with the whips. Others were killed by the white men. Some would run away and try to go back home, back to Africa, where there were no white people, where they worked their own land for the good of each other, not for the good of white men. Some of those who tried to go back to Africa would walk until they came to the ocean, and then they would walk into the water, and no one knows if they did walk to Africa through the water or if they drowned. It didn't matter. At least they were no longer slaves. Now, when the white man forced Africans onto the slave ships, he did not know, nor did he care, if he took the village musicians, artists, or witch doctors. As long as they were black and looked strong, he wanted them, men, women, and children. Thus he did not know that sometimes there would be a witch doctor among those he had captured. If he had known, and had also known that the witch doctor was the medium of the gods, he would have thought twice. But he did not care. Those black men and black women were not people to him. He looked at them and counted each one as so much money for his pocket. It was to a plantation in South Carolina that one boatload of Africans was brought. Among them was the son of a witch doctor who had not completed by many months studying the secrets of the gods from his father. This young man carried with him the secrets and powers of the generations of Africa. One hot day when the sun singed the very hair on the head, they were working in the fields. They had been in the fields since before the sun rose, and as it made its journey to the highest part of the sky, the very air seemed to be on fire. A young woman, her body curved with the child that grew deep inside her, fainted. Before her body struck the ground, the white man with the whip was riding toward her on his horse. He threw water in her face. "Get back to work, you lazy. There ain't nothing. There ain't going to be no sitting down on the job as long as I'm here." He cracked the whip against her back, and screaming, she staggered to her feet. All work had stopped as the Africans watched, saying nothing. "If you don't want a taste of the same, you better get to work." They lowered their heads and went back to work. The young witch doctor worked his way slowly toward the young mother-to-be, but before he could reach her, she collapsed again, and the white man with the whip was upon her, lashing her, until her body was raised from the ground by the sheer violence of her sobs. The young witch doctor worked his way to her side and whispered something in her ear. She, in turn, whispered to the person beside her. He told the next person, and on around the field it went. They did it so quickly and quietly that the white man with the whip noticed nothing. A few moments later, someone else in the field fainted, and as the white man with the whip rode toward him, the young witch doctor shouted, "Now!" He uttered a strange word, and the person who had fainted rose from the ground, and moving his arms like wings, he flew into the sky and out of sight. The man with the whip looked around at the Africans, but they only stared into the distance, tiny smiles softening their lips. Who did that? Who was that who yelled out? No one said anything. Well, just let me get my hands on him. Not too many minutes had passed before the young woman fainted once again. The man was almost upon her when the young witch doctor shouted, "Now!" and uttered a strange word. She, too, rose from the ground, and waving her arms like wings, she flew into the distance and out of sight. This time the man with the whip knew who was responsible, And as he pulled back his arm to lash the young witch doctor, the young man yelled, "Now! Now! Everyone!" He uttered the strange word, and all the Africans dropped their hoes, stretched out their arms, and flew away, back to their home, back to Africa. That was long ago, and no one now remembers what word it was that the young witch doctor knew that could make people fly. But who knows? Maybe one morning someone will wake with a strange word on his tongue, and uttering it, we will all stretch out our arms and take to the air, leaving these blood-drenched fields of our misery behind. All right. It's a pretty good story. I mean, I understand the point of that one, but it's a good story. But I mean, I guess as a folktale, it's factual, but you would usually think that there was some allegory attached to it, like that's how slavery ended. But I guess not. All right, that's all, bruv. Goodbye, bruv. Goodbye.